Hello and welcome to Game Theory Main Event Dissection right here on the Monkmatics channel. I am your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, guys, we're going to take, I don't know how long, this is the first one, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and just give you some deep stats into the main event specifically between Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan. Guys, my boy Bruce Buffer right above my head holding it down. Without further ado, guys, let's just get right into the first episode of Game Theory Main Event Dissection. Hit the like, hit the sub on this channel. And here we go. Look at me. I'm down here. Can you see me? I am small. Rick Moranis shrunk me. I don't know what happened. Game Theory Main Event Dissection. I mean, how can you not love the Photoshop here? We've got Petr Yan up in the corner. You see all of his stats, his height, weight, stance. His record, 16-4 is his career, 8-3 is his UFC, and 2-3 is his last 5. Then you've got his method of finish. Same thing with Merab across the way. Then you've got, let's see, on the very bottom of their pictures, their DraftKings salaries for the week and their last 5 opponents' wins and losses. As you can see, Yan lost to Aldo, or beat Aldo, lost to Sterling, Sandhagen, lost to Sterling, lost to O'Malley. 2-3 for Yan, yikes. On tilt, Merab beat Lopez, Dodson, Stamen, Moraes, and Aldo, and that's how you go. The rest of the stuff is going to change as we go through the slides, but that basically explains it. And here's the basic DFS information, guys. Raw DraftKings points per minute. That is points scored with bonus points taken out. Petr Yan in his UFC career, 3.98 points a minute while allowing just over 2. And in his last 5, it's a bit lower than that, but he is allowing 2.43. Instead of 2.19. Meanwhile, Merab is killing those numbers, scoring almost 6 points a minute in his career, 5.5 in his last 5, and he's only allowing 1.5 points per minute back at him. So much more offensive output from Merab and much better defense as well. Ceiling and floor in the UFC, Merab has the higher ceiling, but in the last 5, Petr Yan has improved his ceiling 154.1 with a 55-point floor. Fantastic. Meanwhile, Merab's career ceiling 150, and in his last 5, it's also 150 with a very high floor as well. 73 for his career. It says 24 for his last 5, but he has no losses, so that's just taking the average for the division. Trust me, in his 2 losses combined, he is averaging about, actually, we'll get to that. DraftKings points per win. Petr Yan in the UFC scores 107. In his last 5, 131. I believe he has 2 wins in his last 5, averaging 131. Had a huge win over Aldo. Meanwhile, Merab, 120 over his UFC career. Last 5, he's averaging 114. Both guys' scores are through the roof. And look at these scores when they lose. Over his career, Petr Yan, his 3 UFC losses, 71 points per loss on average. Merab, 86 points per loss over his 2 losses. This is a must-play fight. Both guys' floors are the highest on the card. I absolutely love it. I think the winner can score very well, I think the loser can score very well in this fight. So, last thing on this slide, average salary and value. For Petr Yan, since 2021, his average salary is just under $9K, and his average value is just under 9. We are looking for much more value than that. As you can see, the optimal goal is 122.35. That is a 13.3x, which is the average optimal value currently. And we're only at less than 9 for Petr Yan per win. Meanwhile, Merab Dvalishvili, 250 under the average of Petr Yan. And his average value per win is 13.38. We are higher than the optimal goal. Also, Merab only has to score 93 points for that optimal goal score, while Petr Yan has to score 122. As you can see, Merab wins this category pretty much hands down for the most part. Next slide, advanced DFS. How do they score their points? Striking points per minute. Petr Yan is at about 2.4, allowing just under 2 back in his last 5. Meanwhile, Merab Dvalishvili, higher than that, almost 3 points a minute over his UFC career, and it is over 3 points a minute in his last 5. Allowing just 1.16 per minute back at him. Knockdowns per minute, this is all Petr Yan. I mean, look at these huge numbers. Knockdown points per minute, 0.56 in the UFC and 0.28 in his last 5, and pretty much negligible for Merab Dvalishvili. Takedowns per minute, Decent numbers for Petr Yan, 0.65 in his last 5. Look at Merab, over 2 in his UFC career and 1.73 over his last 5 in takedown points per minute, and he allows basically 0. Petr Yan allows basically 0 as well, so we will be interested to see in how this goes if Merab can get him down. Control time, points per minute, again, it's going to Merab easily double what Yan has per minute, and he allows half of what Yan allows. And then reversals per minute are basically negligible for both guys. This one's a little bit closer, but again, Merab has more striking points per minute, more takedown points per minute, and more control time points per minute, and it's really not that close. Petr Yan is killing the knockdowns per minute, though. He has got some power in his hands compared to the rest of the bantamweight division. Advanced pacing, this is something I just kind of came up with. We'll see if I can do a good job of explaining. This is all striking points. So at distance, Petr Yan in his UFC career scores 2.76 points per minute while fighting at distance. In his last 5, it's dropped just a bit to 2.53, and he allows about that back at him at distance. Now, Merab at distance, much lower. 1.67 points scored per minute at distance in his last 5, and he's allowing 1.58. So very close numbers for these guys, but a point less per minute for Merab. Inside the distance is a much different story. Both guys score very well. Petr Yan inside the distance in his UFC career scores 6.25 points a minute. In his last 5, it is down a point, but it's still a ridiculously high 5.22 a minute, while allowing only 2 points per minute scoring inside the distance. Merab's numbers are crazy. 7.81 points per minute inside the distance while allowing only 1 per minute. And in his last 5, it's about the same offense, but he's allowing less than 0.9 points per minute inside the distance. Merab is killing it when you get in range. Absolutely killing it. Now here's where it gets a bit confusing. I'll try to say it intelligently. These are all percentages of striking points scored, the last 3 categories. So the percentages of points scored from significant strikes landed at distance for Petr Yan is 60.47. In his last 5, he scores 60 or 59.92% of his total striking points at distance. Merab is half that, 31% on average of his total striking points happen at distance. Petr Yan 26.5% and 24.5% of his total striking points happen inside the distance. Merab is about the same, a bit higher actually. But when it comes to points scored by non-significant strikes, Petr Yan is about average at 13 to 15%, whereas Merab, 41% of all points from points he scored via striking comes from non-significant strikes, dude. He's just in the clinch, peppering you up a little bit. Non-significant strikes, those all count as 0.2 points. He's on the ground, peppering you up a little bit. 0.2 points. Bam, 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 bam. 41% of all striking points from Merab come from non-significant strikes. That's by far the highest number on the card and a very, very interesting stat line. Merab wins this category. He wins the inside the distance points scored per minute and the percentages of inside the distance strikes and non-significant strikes. I don't know how much he really wins this, because Petr Yan clearly wins the at distance points per minute and the points from strikes at distance, and it's not even close. So obviously Petr Yan likes to work at distance, and obviously Merab Dvalishvili likes to be inside the distance. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but here are the numerical stats to back that up. You know what these guys are going to do, and it's just going to be interesting to see who can implement their game plan. We are halfway through, guys, about 9 minutes, so we should get this done in 15 minutes or so. Next slide, the all important. This might be the most important slide in this video, the strength of schedule for these guys. I personally calculate strength of schedule much, in fact, exactly like the BCS did for the NCAA. Who of these guys fought in their last 5 and who of those guys fought in their last 5. I only go last 5 fights, or else it would take me a year. Maybe for this video, I'll go all UFC fights, but that would take me quite a bit of time the way I do it. Anyways, let's get into it, guys. The strength of schedule, long story short, Petr Yan is going to win this category. 81. This number's out of 100. Anything over 70 is good. Over 75 is great. Petr Yan, 81.5 strength of schedule. I think that is by far the highest number on the entire card. I could probably check just to make sure. Yeah, it is the highest number. The next highest person is Said Nurmagomedov at .7858 or 78.58. Petr Yan is 3 points higher than the second best at 81.51. Merab is 10 points lower than that with a respectable 71.5, but it's nowhere near as good as Petr Yan. The strength of victory is 79.31 for Yan, 72 for Dvalishvili. The strength of defeat is the one category that Merab wins simply because he is undefeated in his last 5, while Jan's strength of defeat is a very impressive 89.5 points. Guys, I'm serious. Any number over 75 is fantastic. We are over 80 in almost every category for Yan. So he's not fighting, as you know, by these names right here, he's not fighting scrubs, and the guys he's fighting aren't fighting scrubs either. That's why we have such a high that's why we have such high numbers for strength of victory. The last 5 opponents pro record for Yan, 106-19. For Merab, it's 111-43. And the average record of opponent per win. So when let's see, when Yan beat Sandhagen, what is his average record of guys that he's fighting when they win, basically? 23-6 is the answer. That was a shitty way of explaining that. When Petr Yan wins, what are his opponent's average record? That's a little bit better. 23-6 for Yan and 22-9 for Merab. So very respectable, but just that much better for Petr Yan. And like I said, this might be the most important stat or frame on the entire show, guys. It's the strength of schedule. Who are guys fighting? Are Merab's numbers better so far because he's fighting just that much less quality opponents? It could be. It might not be, but it could come into play as a reason. So that's why I'm trying to show you everything so you can make your own informed decision. Plus, I just love talking about fights, especially Merab fights. His stats are crazy. But again, is that because he's beaten guys like Moraes, Stamen, Dodson, and Lopez, and not guys like Sterling, Sandhagen, Sterling, and O'Malley? It could be. It could be. Maybe not, but it could be. Next slide. As my stuff's out of order, I had to fix it real quick. Basic optimal stats, guys. We're almost done. We've got one more slide after this. Basic optimal stats. It would not be a game theory video if I didn't say the word optimal about 40 times, and this is where it happens. Petr Yan has made the optimal lineup since all these stats are since 2021, as you can see. Has made the optimal lineup only 1 out of 4 fights since 2021. That is a 25% optimal rate. When he does win, 100% optimal, but he only has 1 win since 2021, guys. That's why the Sandhagen fight, he made optimal lineup in that one. 1 of 3, but he's 1 of 1 in wins, so 100% when he wins. The scoring ratio, what he scores compared to his opponent, is less than 1-to-1. His opponents are outscoring him in his past 3 fights since 2021, however that math works out. 0.98 to 1. And since 2021, Petr Yan has an average ownership of over 40%, guys. That's a very high ownership, while his opponents average ownership about 28%. Let's look at Merab here. He's made the optimal lineup 2 out of 3 times since 2021 for a 66.67 optimal rate, and he's won all 3 fights, so his optimal per win percentage is the same percentage, 66.67. Scoring ratio of 4.24 to 1. Fantastic from Merab. Since 2021, his ownership is even higher than Petr Yan, as you would expect. Excuse me. Usually a much better DraftKings player. 45.23%, and his opponents are only being rostered 18.17% of the time, guys. Here's how this category lines up, and it's going to go to Merab for the better optimal player. What do I say, guys? Optimal fighters fight optimally. 2 out of 3 optimal. I consider that an optimal fighter. Merab fights optimally, guys. Let's go. I mean, he scores 86 points per loss. He's 7K this week. Love Merab's chances here. And last but not least, the last slide on this card, of course, we're getting into the salary Voodoo. DG3, my guy, requested this fight for the actual salary Voodoo video. I wasn't able to get to it, but I did know we were doing it right here. So my guy DG3 Hope you're tuned in to this one. And surprisingly, 9,200, the huge favorite salary, and 7,000, the huge dog salary, have both made the optimal lineup the same amount of times, guys. Since 2021, both salaries have fought 71 times. They've both made it 15 times on the optimal lineup. That is a rate of 21%, so we're not at that 25%. It is a very low rate. Not a great fight to target. Salary win rate for 9,200, as you would expect, much higher than its dog counterpart. It's almost 72%, while 7K sits at almost 27%. When it does win, 9,200 makes optimal less than 30% of the time. That is a bad number. Meanwhile, when 7K wins, it makes optimal 79% of the time, 50 points higher than its counterpart. And when 9,200 wins and makes optimal, rather, it scores 113.16. When 7K wins and makes optimal, or sorry, when it makes optimal, 93.51. Guys, again, Merab only has to score 93.09 points to be considered, to reach his optimal goal score. Jan has to score 122. These numbers are crazy. I hope what I've done here, and Merab is going to barely take this category of salary voodoo as well. So if you've been paying attention, Petr Yan has only won the strength of schedule category. Merab has won every other category. But is that strength of schedule category more important than the rest? We will learn that this Saturday, UFC Las Vegas, when these two guys, Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili, face off, and we'll see who can implement their game plan. Can Petr Yan keep Merab at distance, or will Merab just constantly be coming at him, getting inside the distance, trying to drag him down, trying to put him up against the cage, peppering him with those non-significant strikes that he scores 40% of his striking points from? Who knows? But guys, I am super excited for this one. I really hope you enjoyed the inaugural episode of Game Theory, main event dissection. I love doing this stuff. The Photoshop takes a little bit, but it seems to be worth it. I will hope to do this each and every week. Love more content on my channel as well. Be sure to share this with a friend, and like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, we're going to end this the same way as we usually do. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fights. So, enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.